Hi, I'm Andy from 26MTB. You may have seen me on such things as falling off a bike, riding a bike really badly, and now you can watch me talk to other people about old bikes. So please enjoy. So, welcome to Mark. So, Mark is an avid collector and sometimes seller of retro mountain bikes under the name of Out There Cycles. So, welcome to Mark, and hope you enjoy the
Welcome
conversation.
to, I guess, vlog number one. And you are my perfect little guinea pig. And
I hope it works out. I hope it doesn't go
well,
terribly. You just go, I'm not doing
yeah,
that again. Yeah. Or just delete the whole thing and then start.
yeah, yeah. Well, whoever comes as number two has to set up their backdrop.
Hold on, there. I've got to set a high standard there, right?
You've set a high standard. So I guess first, like we've known each other for like how long? I mean, it must be
Well, years from back in Dorset days. Yeah, yeah.
15 plus
Yeah.
years, I guess.
Yeah.
This is the first conversation we've ever had about bikes.
Yeah. It's almost like we had a kind of guilty sort of secret that no one talked about.
Yeah.
And, you're into that.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
It's absolutely crazy. And I guess kind of question number one is how did you keep it such a secret for so long? I mean, it's quite the collection there.
It's sort of snowballed a lot in the last. It's only about 7 years that I started. I was riding to and from South London into Shoreditch. I was a bike, and I was like, I wonder what. Like, I used to be into race on mountain bikes when I was younger, and I started to accumulate. About 7 years ago, and I bought one, and then it probably happens with so many people. You have one, you go, well, what else is out there? What other bike couldn't I afford as a kid? And you start looking, and you start accumulating.
Yeah.
And because where I am now is in my studio, so it's my workspace. My wife says, have as many bikes as you want, which is a dangerous thing to say because it means that I will have as many bikes as I want that I can physically fit. There's you can't see about another 10 bikes out of frame. And there's another room in this building that I rent that's got about another 20, 25 in. So there's a lot. It's got out of hand, big time.
So when lockdown's over, I'm coming over and
Yeah,
spend the entire afternoon drinking tea, geeking out.
I've got so many parts and wheels and tires that please come and take them. Like, come and literally cherry pick the best bits because I've got so much I need to get rid of. But it's like a weird. This is tiny behind me, but it's a weird.
Yeah. So if the camera was to flip, as the other side looked like a junkyard, it's just.
Not quite, but there is a bit of tools and stuff over here. I don't know if you can see that. I won't move it too much. There's sort of like a bike in progress there. Some wheels that I can't decide what's going on the bike. And there's a load of other bikes there. This is tidy. The other room's a mess.
Well, it's still better than my garage. So one frame.
I'm lucky to kind of have this bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned there. So you used to do a bit of racing. So tell me, where does this whole passion for cycling start? Because I'm guessing we're of an age.
Yeah, 90 to about 94 were my peak years, which is peak kind of mountain biking.
Yeah.
Golden age, I think, calls it, right? So I was really into it, and I raced, and I had an old Saracen Traverse comp that I loved. It was black, the black DX on it, black wheels, Ritchie, and I put pace forks in it, I think, synchro stem, did all that stuff to it. And I love racing. It wasn't a great at racing, didn't win much, but I just enjoyed it. Would go out and riding it all the time. And then I sold it stupidly to pay for the car insurance, my first car that mum and dad gave me. And that was it. You kind of move on, cars, girls, get a job, do all that stuff, uni, whatever. And then it was about 7 years ago that I kind of started cycling a bit into London again, in South London where I am. And then I was like, well, I wonder if, I think I saw maybe an ad on eBay for a Marion Eldridge Grey 1992 one. And I remember seeing them when I was younger going, oh, I love that. So I bought it, and it was out in Croydon when I picked it up, started doing it up. And then I took it out for rides on my old stomping ground in Dorset. And I just was like, oh, man, I love this. This is great. And then you sort of go, well, I found this. I wonder if I can find my old Saracen Traverse comp that I had back in the day. So I think from that sort of moment, that kind of realization, I've probably looked at eBay every day ever since looking for that bike. It's a 17 size. If anyone's got one, please let me know. I've only found a massive framed one. But in the process of looking for that bike, like the holy grail, the hunt, I found all these. And then, of course, you see it and you go, oh, I remember that bike when I was a kid. I couldn't afford that in my paper round, and it's only like 50 quid, and it's covered in dust. All right, I'll buy it. And then I'll literally bring it back to the studio, and while I'm looking at it, going, oh, look what I've just found. I'll look at eBay and go, oh, look at that. I think sometimes, like in a week, you can buy like 3 bikes. And I've actually bought bikes before, forgetting that I've already got one. So I go, oh shit, I've already got one of those hanging up. So that's kind of how this collection grew and how it happened. Is that it's just you kind of fall back in love with it a bit.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one of the something falling over in the back of the garage. So you mentioned there in your studio. So this isn't your, you're not a full-time bike collector.
No, not at all. I work on TV shows, like doing stills for TV shows. So, and I suppose how that contributes to this is that I'll be on a set of a TV show for about 10 hours a day or something, shooting the stuff that you see on BBC iPlayer or Channel 4 On Demand, those kind of images. Mm-hmm. And it means that you have a lot of downtime in between. On a TV set, there's a lot of time where I'm not doing anything. And that's when Facebook Marketplace, Gumtree, eBay, because everyone's focused on work. You're not having small talk around a water cooler, intense environment. So I'm off to one side doing my own thing. So I have time to look, and because that work it takes me all over the country, it means I'm travelling around in a big estate car, and I can go, oh, that bike is in Nottingham. I can pick that up on my way through to Manchester. And so there's like it facilitates this collection. But no, this is just something that I kind of became a bit of a passion, and there's a number of reasons why I really like it. And I suppose in lockdown, I was had suddenly found myself with lots of bikes and time suddenly to restore them because all the TV lectures stopped. And then I had lots of people wanting bikes, and I was putting them on Facebook, and they were selling in like 20 minutes. And not to guys like us, bearded guys with a couple of kids who rode them when you're younger, like in their 40s. It was people in their early 30s who wanted a cool individual bike to ride around in London as a commute, and something that no one else had, but had kind of quality and prestige to it, and that they could take out for the weekend. So there's this whole new kind of group of people, I think, that are interested in it.
Yeah, and is that how it kind of transitioned then to kind of that out there cycles? I mean, it was, I think when we first kind of bumped into each other, I think it was UK Retro.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is,
wasn't it? It kind of seems to have morphed from just your collection into kind of this burgeoning growth of sharing lots and lots of retros out to the world.
All the bikes that are on my Instagram are all my bikes, all ones that I own. So they're not just like pictures, because other people go, oh, can you Instagram my bike? I'm like, believe it or not, they're actually all they're not like ones I found. Oh, I found this picture online and I put it on there. But that Instagram started because my own one, which was pictures maybe of kids and some of my stuff, there would a bit like how we're talking about it now for the first time is because the bike thing was a bit of a hidden hobby, right? So no one else that I know in London, this is probably the longest conversation I've had, apart from a couple of other people that I know now face to face. I've had about bikes because it's like a hidden, dirty little secret almost.
Yeah, definitely.
I would be like Instagram pictures of my little boy, and then look, this TV show I worked on. Oh, and look at this old like mountain bike that I've got. And people like, mate, why are you putting that old bike on Instagram for? And it was a bit jarring because it was a bit out of place. So I started a new one alongside it, and now that has I could put a picture of a celebrity from a TV show on it on my Instagram, and I put a picture of like this Marin Palisades down here, and the Palisades would be probably anyone that I've taken pictures of. And so that Instagram has just grown, and I thought the name that I did use, UK Retro, to me wasn't great. Just did something a bit more interesting, and it's just grown. It's just really grown, yeah.
Yeah, because I think one of the things that really gets me is that the quality of the pictures you take, like mine are like chocolate phone or whatever they call it, potato phone, and it's just literally these grainy, horrible images or taken from video that I've shot as I've ridden past or whatever. The photos that you take are studio quality, obviously.
Well, thanks, mate.
Fantastic quality.
I'm mostly using my iPhone.
See, it makes me feel even worse.
I've got my studio here, and I have taken. I was thinking only yesterday. I took all these great shots. And it was my wife's brilliant here. So you've got these really out there bikes, which is why I chose that name on Instagram. And so I choose a coloured background that was the opposite, did like a clash of colours, and shoot it, and isolate it, and shoot it. And I've not put them on Instagram yet, which reminds me, thank you, I've got to do that. But mostly, then I always think actually the photos aren't that good because they're all shot against a white polyboard in my studio as I've finished it. And I'm like, I've got to go home and do the school one or something.
Yeah.
So I'll snap photos and do it then. And because my studio's on the second floor and I'm in London, there's not much green space outside, and I've got to take it all the way down outside, cycle a couple of miles to a park, and I don't always have. I've spent so long working on them that I have time to do nice lifestyle pictures. There's some other people who do it much better than me, but yeah, it's just I suppose you understand lighting, so you kind of go make them nice and clear.
Yeah. I think one of my, I love the bikes and I love all of that, but I'm terrible at photos. This is one of my absolute bugbears of myself. Is I'll go, yeah, that makes a good photo. I'll take it, and I'll be like, I can't actually see what I'm supposed to be taking a photo of, and it's kind of hidden in the background, or a black bike in a black park. It just
disappear. Yeah.
Everything starts to disappear. So I think that really adds to the flavour of your what do they call them, channels, I guess, aren't they? Flavour of your Instagram feed. I think it's it really starts to jump out. The quality of some of those pictures. So yeah, I'm going to be stealing lots of those, by the way.
Very well.
So you mentioned a minute ago how you find these bikes.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that I'm on the lookout. So much the same as yourself. My first proper bike was a Saracen Backtrax.
Yeah.
About 95-ish, I think. And it was stolen from a mate's house when we were out at a party one evening. But I keep looking and looking and looking and think, right, it needs to be a 17-inch Burgundy Saracen Backtrax. It wasn't even high end stuff. It was just STX RC. The bikes that you have, I mean, I can see in the background there, you've got kind of Schwalbe Billy Bonkers or tabletops, or, you started the detail that you go to when you rebuild them, is absolutely immense. Like if I look at my bike now and say, well, what tires it got in it? It's got a mismatched set of tires from whatever I could find that I've got in my big pile of tires that's still got tread on it. Yeah, that's the level of my restoration. But your stuff has got this, it's got this real finish and polish to it.
Well,
I mean, is there a reason that, I mean, I buy them, ride them into the ground and break them. That.
See, this is the thing. You're doing it the right way. That would be my argument. You are doing the right thing. You've got your bike. I'm going to get it out of the mud. I'm going to use it, and that's the way to do it. And you've got Specialized, right? Yeah. So I've seen photos of your amazing old Specialized, and you're out in the forest getting it dirty, using it. That's what you should be doing. That would be the kind of takeaway. Is like they really should be used like that, rather than all nicely done with nice clean tires on everything. And I love the kind of aesthetic of them. And I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so I kind of like to make them look nice. But I feel guilty because I don't use them enough. There's kind of one that I use to commute to and from back home. And I take one out. I'm taking my Breezer Lightning out on the side.
So that's going to get muddy. That's going to get very muddy.
Get very muddy, yeah. And so you kind of go, well, these are great bikes and I love them, but if I broke that Breezer Lightning, right into the ground. If I broke it, I wouldn't lose any sleep. But if I scratched that almost mint Marin Palisades, I'd be like, oh, what have I done? So, yeah, so I kind of like the kind of aesthetic of it. And I think part of that comes from the reason I try to look so like pretty is it because it comes from being a teenager, isn't it? You're going through the magazines. We didn't have the internet. You go through Mountain UK was my magazines, and you just pour over the experts and go, I can't, I had a 1989 rally montage for a while, and I couldn't afford this new stuff in 1992. And so you'd be pouring over these images. So now it's like it's a bit of wish fulfillment and nostalgia, I guess.
Yeah.
You can kind of go, I've got one of those bikes I can never have, and it's immaculate. And some of these, there's like an orange Prestige and a Dytech Ogre XT, both 92s. Oh, and a Saracen Reverse 92. These three, and they're mint. They've been ridden less than 5 times each, I guess. And so they're never really going to get used like your Specialized does. And
I'm not going to show you the Specialized. It's absolutely filthy.
Good. That's good.
Rotting away at the moment.
It's like these things have never got a chance to stretch their legs. But part of it is that kind of standing back and looking at them and kind of going, oh, man, that looks good.
Yeah, there is definitely that kind of aesthetic thing there. But as you say, you do ride them as well, which is, for me is a key aspect of these bikes is, as great as my, I've got an Enduro 29er and it's fabulous, but it's very dull, if that makes sense. It's very dulling of everything. Like you have to be going like absolutely flat out before it gets exciting. And then it's really exciting. But the margins of hurting yourself get thinner and thinner. Because I find that, I'm going slower on the retros, but actually for that lower speed, probably the danger factor feels higher. It's probably like go-karting is, it's so like, I think that's one of the things. I mean, how do you find riding them out on the trails? I mean, what reception do you get on the trails when you do take them out?
Occasionally, and not many people, I guess, up on the South Downs, I don't really see that many people mention it that much. When I commute 3 miles back to my house, and about 70% of that actually parked. A couple of times I've had chats with people who are like, oh, man, that's a cool bike. But not loads. I mean, I've not really been out riding with other people. I know we've meant to meet up a few times, but families and things kind of stop us, getting out for a ride with other people on bikes. I'd love to do that. I'd love to ride out with other people here as well. But I guess for me, when I'm riding them, there's so much positivity around it. In that, it's like it's obviously there's the exercise you're getting, so that makes you feel physically good. You're out in the elements, you're out in contact with nature, so you kind of feel good from out the city, in the rolling hills or the dirt, or in a forest somewhere. That is all fantastic and positive. And also that you riding something like some of these bikes, there's a Saracen Traverse over here. That when I find them, they're covered in dust and cobwebs. We've not been ridden for like 20 years. And so they all need new cables, new chains, new tyres and stuff like that. But generally they're sound and cosmetically they're in good nick. But you've got to recommission this thing. A bit like this GT that's down here that I love riding. Same thing, it was like, I bought it, I can't remember where it was, in Leicester. And it was filthy and dirty, the wheels are buckled and all that stuff. So you've got to really go to town on it and try and bring it back to life. So then when you're riding it out in the forest, it's like not only are you feeling physically good and mentally good being out in the environment, but you're riding something that you've saved, that you've tracked down and found, got the dust off of it, you've brought it home, you've reconditioned it, and you've probably not paid much money for it. It's like under £100 you can buy the bike and replace all the parts you need to. And so you've got this whole layer of positivity, and there's the mindfulness of fixing it. It's nice to kind of have that zone out from the busyness of life to sit and fix them up. So when I'm riding them, it feels really, really good. You've kind of got layer upon layer of positivity. And also when you buy them, it's nice interacting with people who often really appreciate that you're going to look after it and not, you're going to keep it good home. You're enthusiastic about it, and that's a really positive experience. And then if I sell them, which I kind of need to do more often, but then you have the positivity because someone turns up and they fall in love with it, and they're like, either they've been looking for one for a long time, or they just think it's really cool and they're really happy to have a brand new thing in their life. So there's this whole raft of activity around it, which is just, that in itself is quite addictive, I think.
Yeah, and I think, one of the bikes I've got here I found in a hedge. That's how cheap this bike was. And the rear wheel after a rebuild, it's a 30-year-old LX hub, smooth as silk.
Yeah.
Just respoked it, rebuilt it. It's now in my single speed. So, just this intangible of being able to just pull it back together and kind of make do and mend. It's this, if my big bike breaks, I just pop the bearings out with a hammer, slam some more bearings in, and it's fixed. It doesn't feel quite as, you're not spent the time there just getting that cup and comb just right and everything's spinning. I completely agree with you on that one. So this year, right? So this year has been an absolute bust. Like the amount of rides that I've cancelled, the amount of things that we were doing this year on retro events, but kind of what's next year got in stock, assuming we will get this wonderful vaccine and the world opens up again and we can start traveling and having fun again. What's 2021 in store for you for, I guess, bike life? And
I don't know. I'm trying. It's weird because the lockdown, when all my TV work stopped, it made me focus much more on this, and I think I realised just how much I enjoy it. How I don't know. I like the hunt to find them. I like fixing them up. I like meeting the people either end, buying them, selling them, and there's a lot of positivity around that. So I guess I'm gonna, I suppose, just keep going how I've been going. Make more of the bikes rather than it just being a hobby.
Yeah.
Make a bit more of it. Maybe make a bit more of a presence, and I don't know. Not so much make a living out of it, because you've got to really put hours in to make anything like the sort of a livable, living out of it, I think. But I'm definitely going to carry on with it and try and be a bit more, try not to buy quite so many, because I've been sort of just getting them from everywhere, and be a bit more discerning. But yeah, to just sort of keep it going and kind of keep the momentum building, which is kind of building a little bit, I think. Like the Instagram's going okay. Yeah. I'm collecting more people like yourself and other people. There's kind of like this, people are kind of suddenly coming out of the shadows, all of these people that are into the same thing, and it's quite nice to have this connection. So it's been good. Yeah, it's good to have another string to your bow as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess couple more questions. So, what's the, you said about the, your first Saracen, but what's the real unicorn? What's the one that you would love to have but can't? Either for financial, just physically finding, can't get hold of them. They only ever made 3 of them, or whatever the rationale was. But what's that? Mine's a Brooklyn Machine Works. I'd love a huge, great, big, ridiculous downhill bike that I would never ride, because I live in the southeast of England. You never need one. But I want it, and I would love to have one. What's your, what's that bike that you really, really want to grab hold of?
The thing is, I'm lucky that I've been able to find a lot of them.
You've got most of them.
Yeah, I'm lucky that a lot of the stuff that I kind of jawed over. There's one up here, the Dynatec Ogre XT, which is on my Instagram, which I bought off a guy, I can't remember his name, but he's used it literally a handful of times. He's not used it. Still got the stickers on the on the hubs and everything. That was a bike that I drooled over. It was, one of those in the Dynatech catalogue in 1992 that the little firm down in Dorset gave me when I went in there for like an inner tube or something. And I'd look at it and go, it's just you can never afford it. That it's the top of the range bike they made. They only made a few of them. And then I found one on Facebook in my size that's almost like the day it left the bike shop. So I've kind of been lucky that I found something. There's a Robert White Spider that I bought for 50 quid. That I've restored though, but I bought that for 50 quid. So there's some bikes up here, and there's a Lavoie Titanium which isn't here. A bike shop down the road is fettling it, so it's absolutely on point for me to use. They're a little bit better than I am. So I'm lucky, Andy, that I've kind of found. You sort of asked what bike is a unicorn. Well, it's just the Saracen Traverse Comp. I mean, literally, if this is what you.
So if anyone's got one in their shed,
I'll kind of swap it for almost anything. You know what I mean? It's the 17-inch Saracen Traverse.
That one.
You'll have me over a barrel. It's 1991, so it's metallic black with black DX, black rims, 17-inch frame, so small frame. That's what I raced. If you know, and I've got the one.
I might know where one is.
Oh my God! Don't tell me that. I shouldn't. I won't just swap it for anything. I mean,
I'll go and ask.
You're going to spray one up really quickly.
Yeah. I've got a Saracen here. I'll just paint it black.
Fine. But yes, I'm lucky. I've and the Lavoie Titanium, which isn't here, but again, is on my Instagram. That bike. I think it's not the bike, but it's the same as one that was used in like the Synchros. The Synchros back in 1991. They used that bike in their ad, and it was in all the magazines back in the day as well, like articles about that actual bike. I think they only imported two to England, and that's one of them. And finding that was like an absolute, I couldn't quite believe that I stumbled. I found it because I bought another bike off the same family, and it was in the shed. So I've kind of been lucky, man. I've found, I'm not wanting for anything. If anything, I've got too many of them. I'm a bit of an embarrassment of riches. But the Saracen, I suppose, if I can find one of them.
Yeah, definitely. Right, I'll keep my ears out now. And I guess the question then is, so when are we actually going to end up going for a proper ride somewhere, and what bike are you bringing?
Well, I might bring the Lavoie because that needs to get dirty. I've kind of built it to use rather than just look at. Or maybe the Breezer. I've got Breezer Lightning, which is quite small, but that's 96. It's a bit new for me. That's about as new as I'd go. I don't really like anything newer than that. I kind of, but so maybe the Breezer. I don't know, but I mean any of them. Or I'm building a Rocky Mountain Keep, which is Tanned Prestige right there. And I was going to make that to sell, so maybe I'll bring that. I don't know, is the short answer. I might bring a few and go back to the car park, get another one.
We'll just go do the blue route of Swindley like 5 times, just repeatedly, just constantly.
That'd be great. But no, I'd be more than happy. But
straight uphill.
Yeah. As long as there's no hills involved, right? No hills. No hills. Yeah, something that I'll get to see. Either probably a Breezer. I've got another Breezer Thunder that I use about there. Something like that.
Yeah, it will get around here. Absolutely.
Yeah, I can't wait to get out. And obviously the weather's lousy. You can't really get out and about at the moment. I can't wait until the new year starts and we can kind of all get together and meet people and get out riding again, because it feels a bit. I think that's part of why I've got so many, is that I've just been squirreled away in my little hermit's cave. And it's easier to bring them here and work on them, and then not so easy to find the time to go out to the countryside and use them.
Yeah. Well, let's hopefully find some time in the new year.
Look forward to that, mate.
Had a couple of retro rides cancelled this year. Looking at perhaps doing another event next year. So, bring the collection, bring the whole lot, bring a handful.
I'll bring a Luton van and kind of like line them all up. Yeah.
Yeah, lovely. Have a bit of show and shine while we're there.
Yeah, I'll be all there.
Fabulous. Well, thank you very much, Mark. And let's catch up and do this properly at some point and have a brew while we're there.
Definitely, mate. Let's get out and ride them.
Perfect. Cheers, mate.
Speak to you soon, mate.
Cheers, mate. Bye.
Well, thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed that. Please subscribe. And if you want to have a conversation about old bikes, please drop me a line.